Hello, and welcome to the 2021 IEEE Rising Stars Global Conference. My name is Phil Batista, and my guest today is John Treichler. He's the president of the IEEE Foundation and a Life Fellow of the IEEE. Welcome, John.
Hi, Phil. This is my second Rising Stars conference, and I'm happy to be back, albeit virtually this time. It's more fun when you're with the whole crowd, but we'll just do what we can in these circumstances. Last time I got to talk about the 5 ways you could go wrong in your startup company and still survive. This time I get to talk about the IEEE Foundation and why Rising Stars folks ought to learn more about it.
The IEEE Foundation. So what is the IEEE Foundation? Where did it come from and where did it start?
It started back in 1973, and for an interesting reason. People gave money to the IEEE for awards and to get other nice things done, education and so forth. But the IEEE at the time wasn't legally a charity. And in order to get charitable treatment for the various donations it got, the IEEE set up a foundation called the IEEE Foundation. Legally speaking, it's something called a 501c3. And the idea was to have a mechanism to provide that favorable tax treatment for donations and other charitable gifts that the IEEE got that it wanted to use for awards and other good things.
Well, so is it part of the IEEE?
Well, a fascinating question. As a practical matter, yes. Technically, no. We have our own board of directors. We have our own IRS filing that we do every year all on our own. But as a practical matter, we work exclusively with the IEEE and its organizational units. Those are the technical societies, and TAB is the sections and regions and chapters and MGA. And we do that to help them leverage philanthropic support for the kind of educational and charitable things they want to do. Technically and legally, though, we're separate, but we describe ourselves as the philanthropic partner of the IEEE.
Wow, what a great distinction. So what is the foundation's mission?
Well, that's when you get to this business of, are we different? Are we the same? Our mission is exactly the same as the IEEE's. Okay, you may know that the IEEE's mission statement is fostering technical innovation for the benefit of humanity. Well, since we help the IEEE organizational units raise money to do good things, our vision is exactly the same as the IEEE's. We want to enhance technology access. We want to improve literacy, all sorts of education and general support of the IEEE professional community. Our job is to make it easier for the volunteers and the IEEE's organizations to do what we call good works. Okay, to make that a little bit more concrete, I can split that into about 3 pieces, and I will for you. We work with the organizational units to do lots of educational things, scholarships for students, technical history for high school students, science kits for libraries, and documentaries. Like there was a recent one about Claude Shannon called The Bit Player, who was basically recognized as starting the whole field of information theory. So the various organizational units come to us with ideas. We say, that sounds cool. Let's help you go get that done. Another thing we do is we hold the money that the IEEE, imagine a bag of money. Okay, we hold the money that the IEEE and its organizational units use to give awards. You might know such awards as the IEEE Medal of Honor and such, where we're the ones who hold the money so that can be, so those awards can be made every year. And the third thing we do is purely humanitarian work. There's a very exciting program that all the rising stars should learn about called Smart Village, which brings photovoltaic little power stations to villages in Africa and Southwest Asia. IEEE members started it, raised money for it. The foundation helps them raise the money for it. And then they go off and do this, and it's amazing.
Wow, that's impressive. So how many funds does the foundation manage?
it turns out to be a fairly big management, I won't say problem, because the staff who does this does a fantastic job. But we have over 200 individual designated funds. A few of them fairly big, okay, but a lot of them really quite small. Every one of them got started with a special purpose. Somebody came in and had an idea and we raised money with them for it. Or somebody came in and said, hey, I've been a member of IEEE my whole life, and I think the IEEE does wonderful things, and I want to encourage them either educationally or perhaps with doing something, the kind of things I mentioned we call good works, out in the community somewhere. And so they bring the money to us. We promise to spend it exactly the way they asked it to be spent. And we report it to the IRS regularly. And we work with the organizational units to make sure that, again, that money gets spent the way they want it to, the way the founder wanted, the donor wanted it to be told.
And so I've heard that the foundation has a bunch of money in. Is that true?
Everything's relative. But yeah, it's a lot of money. It's, it's like $50 million. Okay, but yeah, no kidding. But every bit of it came there because somebody wanted to do something good with it. Okay, and so part of our job is not to just go out and invent things to spend money on, but to take the donor, whether it's an IEEE member or somebody else who just thought the IEEE was the best way to get something done. It's our job to make sure that that money is well cared for, that it's invested properly, and that there's an organizational unit in the IEEE whose volunteers are going to go get this done. And just to make sure we're the quality control and we're sort of the banker and we're the oversight. We don't get to invent the programs ourselves, but we love when a good one comes in and try to pick ones out that we can go be effective raising money for. Sometimes the money just comes because the donor wants it. Sometimes we have to go sort of encourage a donor, okay, to that we've got a great idea and they'll be very proud of it if they invest.
Wow. Well, and I hear that the foundation has changed direction about 6 years ago. Can you tell me about the before and after of that?
I'd be thrilled to, because that's part of the same story we've been telling. Between 1973 and about 6 years ago, the whole job of the foundation was, I imagine the board of directors of the foundation just sort of sitting around looking at the money to make sure it didn't get away without being spent the way it was told to be spent. And that was legally its obligation. And by the way, we still do that. But about 6 years ago, we looked at what the IEEE wanted to do, where it wanted to go, where its volunteers wanted to go, and particularly the younger volunteers like at the Rising Stars, and say, what do they want to do with their time and their energy and their talent? And they wanted to do good things. Okay, they wanted to do good things for the community, good things for the world. And we said, maybe the foundation should take on the additional, I won't call it a job, it's the additional opportunity to go raise money from places other than just the IEEE member dues. Can we raise more money so that we can go do these great things with the hands of the IEEE volunteers? So before it was sort of, I'll just call it stewardship, being careful with the money and making it go where it's supposed to. But the additional function is to actually go encourage philanthropic donating that then the IEEE members can go do great work with.
Wow. And I hear that you just successfully completed a fundraising campaign. What can you tell me about that?
Well, obviously, as much as you'd like to know. Yeah, when we changed direction, and by the way, I said 6 years ago, the thinking about that really started about 8 years ago, and it took us a couple of years to get ourselves organized about doing it. And one of the key things we decided to do was hire some staff that actually knows how to raise money. The average IEEE member is a technocrat, a smart person, but doesn't necessarily know about philanthropy and philanthropic giving and that sort of stuff. So we actually organized and added some staff who knew something about how to do that. Remarkable. And you can't do that without having a goal. Okay, and we said, okay, what's a reasonable goal? We thought about it, thought about the things we wanted to try to get done, the organizational units who had ideas like the smart village I talked about, but several others, and said, I bet if we work really hard that over about 4 years, we can raise $30 million to go do these good things. Now, this money isn't spent on internal IEEE things. This is spent by IEEE volunteers doing external things. I'll talk about a few of them in a minute, but it was sort of $30 million of, I'll call it extra money to go do good things with. And the really cool thing is just as of a month ago, we actually got there. We got there on time and actually a little bit extra. Okay, so we're obviously, as you might imagine, a little bit proud of ourselves, but not only the foundation, which is run by IEEE volunteers, but also the IEEE staff who got it done, and most importantly, the donors who are some IEEE and some not IEEE who thought these ideas are really good ideas and wanted to invest in them. So we will continue doing that. But that's a really cool thing because it shows that the projects that IEEE volunteers want to go do are in fact worthy of investment by folks both internal and external. So obviously we finished this campaign. What do? I bet there's another campaign in our future.
Fantastic. Well, I'm aware of about 4 of your signature programs. We've got about 3 minutes left, John. Can you tell us briefly about those?
Absolutely. I mentioned to you that we had more than 200 funds, and there's probably at least 50 projects and activities going on that are serious, but we don't have enough people to raise lots of money for all of them. So we typically elevate a handful of them, well, maybe a short handful, in this case is 4, and the ones we're currently working with, and successfully so, I've already mentioned the Smart Village that is doing the microgrid power stations in energy impoverished locations. And not only do we help them build a power station, we teach them how to run it, we teach them how to raise money for it and how to grow it. This one is so good, it even got into a National Geographic movie that you can find. Cool. But other things, we have a program called Epics in IEEE, which is all about community activities actually executed by engineering college students, exactly the Rising Stars contingent. We have another program called Reach, which is about putting together, I call it techno history. It's the putting together information that, believe it or not, high school social studies teachers use to teach history of the technical flavor. How did technical and technology influence the world? And so we invest in that. Another program, the 4th program we have that's a signature program, is what the Power and Engineering Society calls Scholarship Plus, where they're actually funding scholarships to electrical engineering students at universities. And that's been fantastically successful as well.
That's amazing. So we've got about 1.5 minutes left. Can you tell me how the Rising Stars interact with the foundation, or is there any sort of a synergy or interaction?
Well, it's not like exactly you go to the front door of the IEEE Foundation and sign up per se, because if you remember what I said, we actually work through the various organizational units. So for example, I'm a signal processing person. There's a signal processing society. So I tend to work with those folks. We come up with ideas, and when we come up with an idea, then we come to the foundation to raise money for it. The student would then say, oh, that sounds like an interesting thing. Let me go volunteer for the Signal Processing Society, and we all work together. So we in the foundation talk about making donations of time and talent and treasure, just in general, philanthropically. Students and young professionals are usually a little short in the treasure category, okay, but they are pretty rich in time and talent and good ideas. So the net is, we'd really love to have the help of Rising Stars folks. And the easiest way to get into that is to go to the IEEE Foundation webpage, very clever, IEEEfoundation.org, okay, and read about the programs we support, and then get in touch with the organizational unit who actually manages it. like the power and engineering folks with regard to smart village and that sort of thing. So the IEEE is really all about its volunteers. So I urge the Rising Stars folks to volunteer, make something happen.
That's fantastic. In the bottom of this interview, I'm going to put a link to the webpage that you've referenced, so folks that are watching this interview can immediately go there without a lot of effort. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate your involvement in the Rising Stars Conference here and with the IEEE and the foundation. It's been very educational to learn these things from you. Look forward to your session at the conference today. Thank you.
And thanks, Phil.